Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review of the latest episode of Rick and Morty, The Last Temptation of Jerry. And I really enjoyed this episode of it mixing up together like the Santa Claus, but Easterfied, the Fly with Jerry's transformation, and fucking around on the movie Prometheus, and everything kind of going on with that. There was also a nice kind of Zaslav dig at the CEO, so that's taken over so much fucking shit. So it was overall a pretty good episode, and I liked how it had the entire Smith family in the dynamic, and just seeing all the different kind of interactions that kind of played out. And I just think they really went ham on the premise, and in a good way. So we start off and we see that Jerry, for some reason, is really getting into Easter, trying to get into his kids doing it. Morty being like, fuck that shit, I'm streaming on Twitch with Fortnite. Summer's getting ready for spring break, and Beth is just like, whatever. And we see him just like lamenting this fact, and Morty's like, okay, what's with this? Explain the Easter holiday to me. He's like, I don't know, deals with Jesus or whatnot. He's like, alright, when's Christmas? December 25th. When's Easter? April? And everybody's like, nah, we ain't doing this. So Jerry's pretty much driving around eating all the kind of like candy and everything, and then hits the Easter Bunny. And he, of course, is freaking out and just puking all over it because how freaked out he is, not attempting to kill it with his vomit. Jerry then brings it back to the house. It's like, oh, okay, what the fuck's kind of going on with this? And Rick's like, okay, did you attempt to kill it with your vomit? He's like, no. All right, let's kind of just like pretty much disposes of the body and everything, but then Jerry's still kind of freaked out. Beth tells him to go get some water, but instead he starts eating like lettuce and cabbage and going for carrots and shit. And Rick's like, shit, he got Santa Claus. He's transforming and all that shit. Pretty much puts him in this kind of crystal thing, and Morty's like, that only works because of the Claus bit and Santa Claus. He's like, you understood what I said, right? Then it achieved its objective. So they decide to then pair up and do their thing. Rick decides to give Summer a second alcohol stomach and sends her off to spring break. Beth pretty much just watches over Jerry, and they pretty much go on an Indiana Jones kind of adventure to go look what's going on. They had found this kind of like, what was it, 16th century cross, and that was linked to Germany. So they kind of go off. That's, of course, where the Zaslav kind of joke bit comes in. We see that the permafrost had thawed and thawed out the bunny. They see this, like, town engaging in this weird kind of, like, Easter bunny kind of warship / fear kind of thing. Sees this whole thing of this, like, mosaic, builds it out, and sees this, like, cracked up egg. And I'm like, what the fuck? But then space Christians come out of nowhere and are looking for this egg, and they start fighting. Pretty good fight scenes, by the way, seeing like interesting kind of tech from the space Christians, as well as Rick being like, yeah, eat my ass. Morty's pretty much trying to play keep away with the eggshell fragment, but they get it and figure out, well, before the space Christians take it, they pretty much figure out that it's in the Andromeda galaxy. So the space Christians, so they go there. We find out that it is linked to this kind of thing of this group where they send the Easter Bunny thing there. It makes the whole population decide to fuck and pretty much kill itself. And then we see the kind of engineers getting the whole thing on Prometheus. Rick even then explains Prometheus to Morty, and I'm like, yeah. It's pretty much done off screen, but yeah, Prometheus has a lot of fucking problems. Ugh. So I was fine with them taking the piss out of that. We had also seen that Jerry is able to buff out of the crystal thing and is doing kind of push-ups and all that. And then Beth's like, oh god, you're hot. And they decide to have sex because he's like beefed up. But then we see that he's pretty much growing a tail. And she's like, what the fuck's kind of going on with you? And then his legs go back like a bunny's, and he just like bucks out, and he starts doing this whole thing by he's losing his teeth and everything. He starts putting out this pulse where he starts forcing people to pretty much have sex and everything like that before he goes complete were-bunny ass thing, and then attempts to pretty much go after Beth. However, he's able to regain some control of himself before he's like pretty much hopping around doing shit. Let's see. And of course, we've got that these space Christian aliens pretty much abstain from sex because they think it's gross. We see that they start fighting even the engineers that have front butts and everything, which is really fascinating. Ricky's like, all right, then what's on the ass? He does get a view of it, and it's a dick. Well, at least it's led to believe that it's a dick towards the end of the episode. But we see that Rick's portal gun gets broken, but they use, of course, an Easter Island thing, which is linked to these engineer things, and they get back to Easter Island. That's, of course, where the leader pretty much tells them what's kind of going on. We're, like, trying to stop this shit because we think sex is gross. It's like, all right. And then Jerry pops up, rips the one dude in half, who still stays alive, and is pretty much there at the end of the stinger as well. But they pretty much, he's almost getting ready to kind of, like, fuck over Morty and everything like that. But we see that Rick is able to get the cobbled together kind of egg thing that they've got and attempts to siphon the energy into the egg again, because that's what the whole thing was. They'd send the egg, it would unleash the Easter Bunny, and whoever kills the Easter Bunny whoever kills the Easter Bunny becomes the Easter Bunny then. So that's kind of where this whole thing, and we even get a gag towards the end where they're attempting to do this. They siphon it off, but then the thing kind of goes haywire. Beth turns into it, Morty turns into it, Rick turns into it, and they start going back and forth. One of the engineer fuckers turns into it before the leader of the Space Christians, who crawled through all this stuff, is able to help them out, siphoning it back in as fixing the egg. And it's like, yeah, what are we kind of doing here? It's like, all right, just kind of go. And he keeps the egg. We see the stinger at the end where he goes back to his planet and tries to get his wife to have sex with him. And she's like, how? One, gross. Two, how the fuck would I do that? Do I fuck your, like, spinal cord shit? No. Closes the door on him. We see that the Smith family then's like, yeah, fuck holidays, and then they have a montage of pretty much ruining every kind of other holiday, but they went through a whole year, and Beth was, of course, left at spring break, and there's, like, this whole thing where all the spring breakers have been partying for a year, and that Beth lost her friend, that she's got, like, fucking wristbands of her friend's teeth and everything, and then becomes friends with the spring break queen bitch? I don't know. She kind of was like the leader of the group, but I don't know how that would kind of be picked there. And I was like, okay. So she wasn't in here much, except for pretty much going on spring break and doing her own shit. And then being like, yeah, they kind of forgot about my ass. And I like that we had the kind of repercussion of that. And they completely learned the complete opposite kind of lesson of, oh yeah, don't do any holidays. And then fucking up every kind of holiday for everybody else. And then literally forgetting about one of their other family members for an entire year. So it was all kind of fucked up, but it was interesting to see the characters just go kind of wild and crazy. I don't mind certain kind of episodes like that where you just take a premise and fucking run with it. They really executed well on this. The jokes landed with me. I liked what they were able to kind of hit on for like the movies and all that. The Santa Claus references, the Fly references with Jerry turning into the were-rabbit. It's just a good... It worked very well with all the cylinders hitting for me. If it didn't hit for you, I completely understand that there's certain ones that didn't hit for me where other people really liked, and that's fine. But I really had enjoyment with this and can't wait to see where we go next. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.